The reason why we wanted to come on here and do this is because we feel that as a lesbian married couple, we have a responsibility to share our story with the people who choose to follow our story and be 100% honest and transparent. We have a responsibility to other people in our same situation or other people who, want to be in this situation, meaning gay people who want to get married, and specifically those who come from a Christian family and a Christian background, because when I tell you it's not easy, it's really not. And since we've decided to, start this YouTube channel, we have people that want to follow our journey. We feel like it's our duty to be 100% honest and 100% transparent, because we've been putting up a facade and we've been pretending and faking like everything was perfect for too long when it's never been perfect.
Sharing your experiences is just, one, it's therapeutic.
Absolutely.
And I think we need a lot of that right now. There's a lot of hurt over here.
Right.
There's a lot of healing that needs to happen. But I think anytime you can share your experience, you can heal from it yourself. But then like you said, you're also helping other people by sharing your experience. I definitely would have way rather gone into our marriage,
our relationship,
into our wedding, into our vacation,
the very first vacation after we got
as a married
married
couple. I would have rather have gone into all that knowing what I know now
100%,
and I think it would have been a lot easier,
because looking back on it, we were extremely naive. We were extremely naive, one, because of the things that we were taught and the things that we were told, and two, based on that foundation, we had a lot of faith and we had a lot of hope that things would be better, and we had a lot of faith and a lot of hope that our happiness would be the main thing, would be the most important thing, when in actuality it wasn't. And it's really unfortunate, because at that point we're forced to choose between genuine happiness and continuing to put up this facade that we've been putting up essentially our entire lives. So that's the why behind why we wanted to come here and tell our story.
Also, not that we need a why. We 100% have a right to tell our story because it is ours.
100%.
That's just the bottom line.
Period.
We have a right to tell our story. Everybody has the right to tell their story and to live their truth. And at the end of the day, all we're doing is saying what has happened to us, what is going on, what we're experiencing in our life, in the hopes that will help other people.
Right.
That's a whole different story. That may help other people.
Also, this will help us to get it off of our chest, because I still feel like I'm partially living this facade, and I still feel like I'm pretending, and
it'll be a lot easier once it's just
off our
out
chest.
There.
Right. Once it's just out there. So
once it's just out there, and to not have to, I don't know, it's hard to explain. So I think, once our stories are told, we can kind of move on.
Right.
Also.
Deanna.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, my parents are pastors. Well, my stepdad is a pastor. My mom is a pastor's wife, and that's how I grew up. I grew up in church, and that's fine. I very much love God with all of my heart and my soul, and He definitely loves me.
100%.
And He loves to show me that 100%. He loves me. He loves to bless me. He loves to just sprinkle little happinesses in my life. That's just, so I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Right, he loves to show
I know my God,
to us.
and my God and your God may not be the same, and that's okay.
That's fine.
But my God is 100% fine with me and who I am. Back to, I just had to say that.
Right. That's what we put out there.
I just needed you to know, the church that I grew up in, the God that I was introduced to as a child was not the God that I know now. Definitely not. I always knew that growing up in church. I definitely tried my hardest, to fit in, and whatever that looked like, I really tried my hardest. And I think it all started with, I don't know why I always go back to this, but I guess it was just like a significant thing in my life as a child that I didn't realize, you know. So the church I grew up in, actually, our youth pastor came out that he was gay, and, you know, to me, I'm like, okay, like, no big deal. I think I was in junior high, like, I'm like, all right, you know. But at that time especially, it was even still like way more of a stigma, and I just remember the way the church responded to this man that was such a good man and like changed all of our lives, like took us on mission trips, and it was just like suddenly all of that was gone because he was gay, because he is attracted to men. So I think immediately they tried to just erase like everything good about him, and
tell them what they did.
Okay.
I mean,
they actually took up like 2 whole church services just to tell the whole congregation of his sins and yada yada yada. Basically, I watched a whole congregation of people raise over $40,000 in maybe 10 minutes to send this man somewhere to ungay him, I guess. We're not trying to be like politically correct or anything.
No. We're just saying.
Because that's what happened. And I just remember going home and like telling my mom, I think I was probably like 13, 14, and I was just like, that's not right. You know, like, that's not right. And I didn't just mean that like, that's not right to sit there and call this man out. And this was a huge church that I grew up in. You know, that's not right to do that. It wasn't just that. It was that's not right. You know what I mean? Like, this man built our youth ministry and made it what it was. It was nothing before. Like, he changed people's lives. And I also didn't agree that it was wrong. I'll throw that out there as well. I also didn't think it was wrong. So it was very confusing as a 13-year-old. I didn't understand, but also I grew up in a community and in a very small town to where being gay was not a thing. So I had, like, my heart was there. I guess I didn't know why, but I guess that's what I go back to, and that's just really to give you background of what I grew up in. That's not to do anything other than paint you a picture of where I grew up and what I grew up with, and that was my picture. That was my picture of God and of church and of family, and this is what it was. So that actually, not that, but a lot of things, led me away from a path of God, because the God that I grew up knowing, the God that I was taught, like, probably didn't like me. You know what I mean? Like, he probably
based on what
didn't want anything to do with me. Right. So fast forward to now, I have 100%, like, I don't even want to say rekindled my relationship with God, because like I never had a connection like you do to that God. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't. I tried my hardest to fit in.
It just didn't happen.
It was never, ever, 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 ever in my heart. And once I, you know, learned what God really was, and like, first of all, that God is so personal, like the fact that He created each and every one of us, like He is very personal. Like, to think that my God and yours is the exact, that's another story. My God loves me, and it's like, it's the same God, whatever. So anyway, another story. So now, because of me and Faith being together, I have a new relationship with God that I've never, ever, ever, ever had. And it's been something that's been very genuine, that is very much a part of my life and my soul, and it just is. It just is. And like, I wouldn't have even had this relationship or anything had it, you know, not been for you. So
I mean, not had it been, I mean, like, you know, like us coming together, like at the beginning of our relationship, we would have conversations about like who God was and her beliefs, and like we would have conversation, and it was never a bashing thing. It was never a, well, what you saying is wrong and what I'm saying is right. We just let each other talk. We had different views. We let each other talk. I would always tell her, that God is not the God that I serve. The God that I serve is loving. The God that I serve is kind.
Right.
The God that I serve is peaceful. The God that I serve is here for me and loves me regardless of what anybody says, thinks, does, doesn't do. It doesn't matter. So, like, I think me saying that allowed her to maybe have the thought that maybe there might be, you know, a God out there that's okay with me.
Right,
you know
a
what I
different
mean?
God than what they were talking about.
Yeah. So once we kind of like got past that hurdle, it really just opened up a whole different thing for us. So like getting back into the story, your side, whenever we first started.
I'm sorry, I got off.
Whenever we
track
first started
about God,
today.
yeah.
No, you know, we could talk about God all day. Y'all know how that goes.
Right. So, yeah, the way the story looks from my side of it, from my family, now that you know what I grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
and that was across the board, pretty much, for the most part.
Right.
So, when me and Faith started dating, I obviously knew. You know,
Your family's gonna have a problem
right.
with it.
It wasn't
like,
just
let's
gonna.
just be honest.
It wasn't gonna
wrong.
be something that I could just say like, "Hey, mom, like,
I have a
by the
girlfriend."
way, remember how y'all didn't like that guy at church because he was gay? Well, surprise, I'm gay."
right.
Priceless. I think we dated for like 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months where obviously it was a new relationship also. So it was like, why do I want to go through all this with my mom? It's gonna be this whole thing because I knew it was gonna be a thing.
That's like, it's guaranteed to be a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Whenever, you know.
And
we've
we're
been
just
dating
starting
for
our
4 months.
relationship, so let's get solid. Let's get our relationship solid first before we have to, you know, basically deal with attacks. Like, let's build up our shield. Let's build up our wall together as one before we have to deal with the attacks of outside people. So like, and from anybody, her family, my family, like friends, like people who didn't agree for whatever reason. So like, I really feel like that was a major thing for us, like solidifying the trust and the love and establishing our oneness before telling people that we knew were gonna absolutely come against us no matter what.
We'd been dating for like 4 months, and my aunt, who is my mom's sister, actually texted me, and oh god, I don't even remember, you know, the word she said. She basically was like, what is this I'm saying on Instagram? Like, is this your girlfriend? Like, what is going on? And does your mom know? Like, just straight to the point. It was like, what is this?
Right.
Basically. And I was just like, oh, hello.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was like, yes, it is. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, but at the time I knew that like my parents did not like follow my Instagram. They weren't really gonna see it, so I just didn't really think I was gonna have to deal with it yet. And especially like from my aunt, she wasn't really somebody that I expected to have a huge problem with it.
Yeah.
To be honest, you know what I mean?
Right.
That
right.
was surprising to me too.
Right.
She's like my favorite aunt.
Right. Like,
But,
they grew up close, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So when she texted me like that about it, I was like, yes, you know it is. Like, was like, this is something new.
Right. And you asked her.
And I was like, please don't say anything to my mom. Like, I want to tell her myself.
I'm not ready.
And I'm not ready. I was like, I'm just not ready to right now.
Right. We still doing our relationship.
She literally didn't text me back, didn't respond to my text, and then I guess maybe the next day I got a call from my mom, and she was just like losing.
She was screaming at the top of her lungs. She was going off.
Okay. You have to understand, like, really hurtful things have been said that we don't, I really think, need to get into.
Yeah, we don't need to get into specifics. We just know, like, really hurtful, disrespectful things were said on both ends.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Multiple times.
Oh yeah. That's the atmosphere. That's we know now what to expect.
Right.
So
on both ends, meaning my family and her family. Not both ends, meaning us and them. There was never any disrespect from this end. It was all respectful from the beginning.
I think we were, and I think
that was our intention, and that's also where, you know, the facade also came into play, because we were trying to be respectful, but we didn't get that back at all.
And that's also too why, you know, me and Faith have known that we wanted to be married for quite some time.
Right.
And a lot of the time was like spent with like her talking about it, and like obviously I knew like she was gonna propose at some point, but like I felt like we kept having to have the conversation of no, like we can't get married right now, like we need to wait like 2 years, we need to wait and let everybody get comfortable with our relationship.
We were literally
we
were literally gonna wait so that way once we told our parents, we could have told them, okay, well we've been dating for 2 years, we've been dating for 3 years,
like, figured out by now.
You know what I mean? So like we were doing that again to be respectful and to like give it to them a little bit at a time, but at the end of the day, we were robbing ourselves of what was really important to us. Like Deanna said, we knew we always wanted to get married, but we were literally just gonna sit there and just wait for our families. And like I said, that was the level of respect that we had. And we did not get any of that back. And this is just facts.
So basically, after my mom called me and asked me about it, like in the beginning of the conversation when she was asking me these things, I was like lying, but I wasn't like lying because I feel like in the way that I said it, like she knew instantly like I was lying. And she was like, well, why is there a picture of you kissing her or whatever? And I'm just like, oh, well, okay. I was just like, what do you want me to say?
Right. Like,
so
obviously, you know, like.
Right, so that's when, you know, like a bunch of hurtful things were said and stuff like that. And, you know, even from the beginning, I was just, I don't know, like I still somehow like had a peace about it and was just kind of like, you know, whatever, mom, like, whatever. Right. So we didn't really talk for like 4 or 5 months.
Then you went to Houston.
4 or 5 months, went to Houston to train.
I came out there to see you.
You came out there to see me, and her and my stepdad were just gonna like
ambush,
pop up and surprise me.
We got a tip from a reliable source to let us know that like, hey, they're about to come pull up at the hotel that you're staying at. They already made a reservation, and they weren't gonna say anything. They were just gonna pull up on Deanna because like this, like she said, this was after 4 months of no communication.
I think it was maybe like an intervention.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Either way, it was an ambush. But I was there, and they didn't know.
I don't know what it was. I think me and my mom have a way of like doing this little dance, doing this little thing we always do, or like even if things are like bad or whatever, like we'll kind of just start talking and act like nothing really happened.
Right, the facade.
Yeah.
The facade, pretending that everything is perfect when it's not.
Right. And so obviously, once we decided we were going to get married and we were going to get married now, and we had our reasons, and I feel like we've talked about that before. Like, I think we're very justified in our reasons for wanting to do it right now, because at the end of the day, we want to be married, we want to be together, and if there is a day that would be a difficult thing for us to do, I want us to have already had done it. So we're married. And we'll be.
Right, period.
So obviously whenever like you're engaged and you're like literally about to get married, like your whole mindset changes. And like we were actually trying to plan a wedding at first before COVID and everything. Like we were trying to plan a whole wedding,
a whole ass wedding.
And you know that it just makes you excited, and it makes you're planning your wedding, like come on. And at that point, like I couldn't like leave it swept under the rug anymore, with my mom. Like I had to tell her I wanted to be honest. Like she knows, my parents know that we live together, that we've lived together the entire time we've been dating. They know we lived at one place together and we have moved and now we're in a new place together. Yeah, I'm not sure what the shock was, but this is really like to help people know what to expect. Because
it was a huge shock.
It's but even just working up the courage, like to talk to a parent that you know is just so angry and disappointed at you for something that it's
just who you are.
I'm just trying to tell you what's going on in my life.
I'm too old to be
just trying to tell you I'm getting married. Like I thought you would want to know.
Right.
That's weird. So I told her, and I was so nervous. I wouldn't even like sit here with Faith. Like I went and locked myself in our bedroom, and I think I was just pacing around the room, and like I called once and she didn't answer, and I was just like freaking out. So she called me back or whatever, and I told her, and just be prepared for
the unexpected.
She just said a lot of things that were very, 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 very hurtful and
very below the belt and personal.
And kind of put things into perspective for me that at the end of the day, like, that's my mom saying those very hurtful things to me, and I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but it's very hurtful to be told mean things from your parent. Especially when you're in a place of, like, maturity and, like, a good place, a happy place, like, we're very chill, we're very good vibes, we're very happy. Like, that's not fake. Like, that's 100% who we are. We are very protective of our energy and what we let in our home and around us.
Period.
Like, no, we will shut it down really quick.
Real quick.
So especially when you're in that kind of mindset,
you don't let anybody invade that.
And when it's a parent that kind of comes at you and says these hurtful things to you, you just kind of snap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid, I feel like. Like, it's unfortunate, but I just feel like we're at a point of, you know, me and my mom have had conversations since then. Okay, so obviously that's whenever I told my mom and she said all these hurtful things. She, at the end of the day, told me I will never, ever be for this. Like, hell no. Basically. And
literally,
you know, we've tried to have conversations since. I've reached out to her again and been like, you know, I'm not gonna beg you to be in our lives anymore. Like, I'm not gonna do this my whole life. I'm not gonna, every time I hit a milestone in my life, I'm not gonna run to my parents and be like, hey, like, do you want to be in my life now? Like, hey, I just had a child. Do you want to be in my life now? Like, I'm not gonna do it because that's where I'm at and that's where I feel about all of this, because it's just so crazy.
It is. Because honestly, if we would have been in this mindset of like,
why don't you go?
Okay, I'm gonna go, because like, if we would have been in this mindset of like nobody invading our peace, then like I said, we just gonna say all this because we want y'all to be prepared. Okay, so for me, I've basically known that I was gay my entire life. Most of y'all know that who have known me growing up. My sisters have known, like I told them, that I was gay from a very young age. I've been dealing with it, going back and forth with my parents since I was 14 years old. And it's been a struggle, honestly. It's been a struggle, it's been a battle, it's been challenging. It's been something that I've had to deal with by myself for a very, very, very long time. Because for the majority of my life, I was putting up this facade that everything was perfect, because that's what I was taught. That's what I was instilled. That's what I was doing. I was putting up a facade that everything was perfect.
But really bad things come from doing that.
100%.
And that's really bottom line why we're not doing it anymore, because we literally see and experience what happens when you are just fake with everything and sweep it under the rug and act like there's nothing wrong. Like, other people's problems can't get fixed if we all act like nothing's wrong.
Exactly.
Like, if we act like, oh, it was fine, it was peachy keen, like, that doesn't help our fellow anybody. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't.
And two, that also robs you of the ability to communicate. So when you do have a problem with somebody, whatever that problem is, you don't communicate that with them. Not on a mature level. You do things like unfollow them the day after they get married for whatever reason. You do things like completely ignore their text message when you text them and invite them to your wedding. These are actual events that happen. I had told my family I understood their position, so I understand if you can't come to my wedding, I get it. Don't just come and just rip my heart out, but unfortunately that's what happened. The only person from my family that was there for me was my cousin Taylor. Shout out to Taylor.
Shout out Taylor.
Taylor is my all and my everything. I love her with my entire heart. Like, if it wasn't for Taylor, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know what I'd be doing. Taylor, thank you, because like through this hard time, you have been a rock for both of us. So like, thank you for being my family in this time.
That's 100%, because it's been, like, we're not kidding. Like, it's been hard. It's been a shock. It's been a struggle. I've never had to deal with anybody go through anything like Faith has had to go through, I definitely wasn't prepared to handle that, especially not knowing that that was going to be the case, especially when literally up until the day of, we thought everything was fine.
Up until right before we walked into our wedding.
It was really hard to deal with, so I'm really glad that Taylor was there. I'm really glad that Terry was there.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Terry's like our spiritual advisor, like that ass.
Yeah, like I mean, we're still dealing with it, but like if it wouldn't have been for the support of other people.
Don't get me wrong, it was very challenging, but having the people that we had made it 100 times easier. Being able to sit down at dinner and look across the table and see Sarah smiling at me and like being like, "You're married." Just a shout out to everybody who has actually been supportive. We want to say that because like this conversation gets a little heavy. Okay.
No, and that's like really important too, because like literally I was at work and they threw like a shower for me at work, and like I was totally shocked, totally surprised. Like it wasn't a big deal to them at all. Like we literally get a cake every time it's somebody's birthday, every time somebody gets a promotion, like everybody gets a cake. So obviously I'm getting married, they're gonna get me a cake and stuff, and like but just the things that everybody wrote in my card, because like that's my work family. They know what's going on with me, like they see me every single day. And I cried, like I bawled my eyes out, because that was the first time, and that was a couple of days before we got married. That was the first time that I just felt any kind of just like
an outpouring of just like love
like
and
somebody
support.
Being happy
just because you're getting married, like you're getting married, you know what I mean? Like,
and it sucks that it came from like my work.
Like
that's pretty shitty.
I mean, that's what it is, though. And we're telling you,
but that's what happened.
We want y'all to be prepared. So like,
and also to thank the people that have been supportive of us, because like it 100% matters. Like even the people that I don't know that come up to me and Zara and they're like, "Oh, you're Faith's wife," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Congratulations, I know you don't know me." Like even that, like it just means a lot to me, because I don't have my family here. Not that it would matter. They clearly
don't care.
Not on board.
They don't support me. Like clearly.
But I'm in a whole town that like I'm not from, so every single person that does show any kind of love and support and has like it really and is like appreciated, like, and we're so and that's also why we want to just be honest and like tell our story,
because y'all deserve the truth. The people who are
really
supporting us and loving us.
Do you think sometimes I feel really weird whenever we're around people
and we have to pretend like everything is like perfect?
It just feels kind of weird.
So like, in my situation, I've been dealing with this for a long time. Like, this is the first time in my life where I actually feel like comfortable with myself and I love myself the most, and I'm actually happy. And you think that would be the most important thing to my family, but it's not.
That was the hard one to swallow.
It was. Because like at this point, their opinions is the most thing that's important to them. Like I said, nobody from my family texted me and told me congratulations. I didn't hear anything from them. I invited them to the wedding. Nobody showed up. The day after I got married, everybody unfollowed me and Taylor on Instagram. Nobody could pick up a phone and say what was wrong. So we don't know what's going on, but at this point we just decided to move on. If estranged is what you want to call it, estranged is what it is. But like we said, we're just being honest. Also, if we can ask y'all to respect us in knowing that now, it is what it is. But honestly, we're happier because of it, because we decided to put our happiness first, because our happiness is priceless. And I'll be 100% raw with y'all. There was, whenever Deanna and I went on our very first vacation, I had a complete meltdown, a breakdown. Like, I was like literally on the toilet, like screaming, crying, bawling my eyes out, just because like I had essentially been abandoned by my family. And that had happened a couple times. Like I was just, just cutting up, like, and it was bad because like my wife was the one who had to like pick my face up off the ground every single time, and she did, and like I felt guilty, but it was like it was something that I was used to dealing with by myself, and it was like at that point it just all came up and came out, and it was really hurtful, but at the same time it was really necessary for my growth and for me to keep going. And I'm saying all of this because like the reason that I had that breakdown and that meltdown is because like I was shocked and I was naive and I was taken aback. I thought that everybody would always be there for me, and I thought that everybody would see that I was happy, and I thought that on my wedding like my family would be, and they weren't. And I just want y'all to know that that's okay.
It is.
That is okay. As long as you are happy and your happiness is what's first, watch how happy you're gonna be. Sometimes you gotta cut off dead weight. Sometimes you gotta mourn the loss of people that you just are done with. And yeah, that shit fucking hurts.
It does.
It fucking hurts.
And it's not easy, and that's not to say that like we don't miss our families, because we do very much. But at the end of the day, we're not gonna compromise our relationship or our happiness to appease anybody.
Not
and
anymore.
I'm really sick of saying it, but I'm not gonna hide my wife from my family. Like if that's, because that's what I've been given, is this conditional relationship with me of,
Yeah, no.
we'll have a relationship with you, but we don't want anything to do with that. We don't want anything to do with your lifestyle.
No.
Like, okay, well,
We're
I'm
not
not gonna
doing that.
discount my wife and my marriage, so you could really fuck off, honestly.
Dead ass.
That's where I'm at.
And I'm also not gonna have a don't ask, don't tell relationship. Like when good things happen in my life, I'm gonna tell the world about it because I'm happy. Like, I'm sorry, I don't appreciate getting a text message telling me to be discreet
Yeah, we're not gonna do
the
that.
day after I get married. Like, instead, not a congratulations, not I'm happy for you, but be discreet. Don't post everything on Instagram. I'm sorry. I've been doing that my entire life. I've been, playing straight. Y'all know, y'all remember when I used to wear dresses. I'm not doing that anymore. So,
I think it's pretty disrespectful to
I think so.
ask somebody to hide their relationship and who they are. I think it's pretty disrespectful to say that God doesn't honor my marriage.
That's really disrespectful.
That's pretty disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
We're just not gonna, it's really not any kind of bad blood.
Not at all.
No bad, it's really not.
It's not. This was a bashing session.
It's just we're done. At the end of the day, we are married, we are one. You are my responsibility.
And you're mine. Period.
Right. So like, number one priority. And it's just kind of like, we're so protective of that and of each other. First of all, because I feel like we're supposed to be.
Right.
I feel like we're very much on the same spiritual wavelength as well. Like, I think we pretty much, we know, like, when we're on the right path and in the right direction, because we feel the same things. Well, literally, God will talk to us the same.
Right.
So since that's our mindset and we're so protective of that, it may come off kind of aggressive, but it's not. It's just protective of each other. And it's unfortunate that the people that we have to protect each other and ourselves from are our families. But that is what we're gonna do, because it is what we have to do, because we have to move on. Because it's been it's been rough, you guys.
Yeah.
It's been really rough.
Yeah.
Especially going from, we're so used to our relationship being so on and so just good, and like, oh my God. In Biloxi, I was like, what is this? Like,
Right.
what is happening?
Right.
Like, it was really bad. And obviously we know that the only way to cut that out is to remove, right now, the poison that is in our life. And right now that is coming from our families, and I'm very much a firm believer of, if it's not serving me, like, I don't want it in my life. And right now, like, it's not causing us anything but harm.
Right.
And it's driving this wedge between us that, first of all, feels a little bit intentional, but that's neither here nor there. And I really don't appreciate that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of manipulative tactics as well on both ends.
But I don't even want to.
We don't have to get into it. Just
But
know.
I see. We're just nipping all that in the bud and cutting it out. And so that was a big part of it, of like, we don't really want any awkwardness. Like, we don't want any awkwardness about anything. Believe that we are going to post and say and do whatever we want, and discretion will not really be what you could call it.
Right.
And we really want to reach out and have a platform to help other people, other gay people that either don't know how to handle a situation or haven't experienced it yet. Like, I just think it's important to share the experience, because had we known that this was gonna be so hard
And fucked up.
we just really would have, it just would have been nice to know, I guess. It would have been nice
I wouldn't have
to
done
know.
anything differently.
So I want somebody else to know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't feel like it's fair at all that the very, very, very beginning of our marriage gets thrown this curveball that's just, it's just like nasty. Like, that's really unfair. Like, I don't care, like, if you agree with the fact that me and Faith are married, or that any woman and woman would be married, or that any man and man would be married. I don't really care. At the end of the day, I'm a fucking human being.
Period.
And I have a right to marry whoever I want. I have a right to post whatever I want. I have a right to tell my story to who I want to, when I want to. And I have a right to be happy. I don't really care if that happiness looks the way you want it to.
Or not.
I definitely don't serve you, and that's really just where we're at.
And this is the healthiest thing for us. And like we said, this is just our responsibility to tell our story.